Hey guys, Herbal Prepper here, and today we're going to talk about a mustard seed plaster. We're going to talk about the reasons why you might want to use it, the amounts of ratio that you want to use it, the age group that it can be used in, and then just some precautions when knowing how to make this and what to watch for. So basically, mustard seed plasters or poultices have been used for, oh gosh, forever. Only here recently in the last 100 to 200 years has it slowly faded out when we replaced a lot of natural remedies with antibiotics. And now don't get me wrong, antibiotics are amazing and they are great. But if you can use this prior to getting to the point of needing an antibiotic for like a bacterial pneumonia or something, why not do that? So basically what you're using here is just regular mustard, and I'm going to pull some out of my cabinet if I can find it, because what I have here is in a bag. I use the bulk in the bag. But you know how McCormick makes kind of like, I'll just show you. McCormick makes stuff like, so you can just get this. Or if you're like myself, you have mustard seeds that you want to grind yourself, you can surely do that as well. Just so you know, when you grind the mustard seeds yourself, it does make it a little bit stronger. This stuff that has been pre-ground, it loses potency over time. So basically, this is about a teaspoon. So let me just show the camera if it'll, it won't focus. But anyways, this is 1 teaspoon of mustard seed powder, just the ground powder that you would buy in the store. And then probably 3 times that of just regular flour. You can use any kind of flour. You're basically just using this as a thickening agent. And this is going to be my mixing bowl, and my water is over here. So basically the reasons why you would use this is for aches and pains that are deeply rooted. So like rheumatoid arthritis, you can use it for muscle pain. You can use it, you know, same way you would use ginger poultice in a lot of ways. You can even use this for deep-rooted pneumonia cases, and hopefully you're going to use something like this or to be taking care of yourself before you get to the stage of pneumonia. But in case not, or if you just have a cold or the flu that just won't go away, so you want to do a poultice or a plaster. Basically what's happening is you are bringing blood to the area. Anytime you bring blood to the area of an infection or a cold or congestion, you're basically opening things up, so you're vasodilating. And when that blood comes to the area, it brings all of the right things that it should be. So if it's a wound and you put something on it, it's going to bring clotting factors. If it's infection, it's going to bring anti-infection factors. So your immune system is going to be alerted that there's a problem. If there's toxins deeply rooted into your respiratory system, it is going to help to pull that out and to bring relief. And so really guys, there's all kinds of ways you can apply this. Some people do it on their near their joints, some people do it just on their lower back, some people do this on their chest. So let's just say you have a cold or some type of respiratory issue and you want to do the plaster. Again, this amount is what you would use for a small child. Now, children that are unable to notify you when this starts to heat up, because this will heat up. It will heat up kind of similar to icy hot. A lot of children don't like an icy hot feeling because it burns. So basically you need to be able to identify when the skin has reddened, and when that happens you want to pull it off, rinse off the skin with kind of like lukewarm water, and if the child wants warmer water you can do that. And then what this will do is it will stimulate them to cough, and hopefully you have done previous steps of breaking up the cough, breaking up the mucus, keeping them hydrated. That way it thins all of that out, and then this will help to expel it. So 1 teaspoon to 3 to 4, maybe even 5 of regular flour for a small child age 1. If you're gonna go any smaller than that, any younger of a child, you have to check this about every 2 minutes. Wouldn't leave it on any longer than maybe 6 minutes or so. And if the skin becomes red long before that, remove it again, wash it, and go on. So you could use this age 1 up to even age 3. Once the child's chest gets thicker, gets more meat on it, you want to use a little bit more mustard in the plaster. And so you might want to do 2 teaspoons. And for an adult, you can even kick it up to 1 tablespoon per equal amounts of flour. Basically, the flour is just to thicken it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of demonstrate, and what you see underneath me is one of the old t-shirts that I use for straining tinctures. That's why you see the stain from that. But you just take an old t-shirt or flannel or whatever you have, a cheesecloth. If you're going to use cheesecloth because it has those holes, you want to make sure that you double or even triple that up. What you don't want this to do is come into contact with the skin. The reason that you're using the cloth is a protection, a protective barrier against the skin. So basically here, you're just going to kind of mix that up really good. As you can see, it's yellowy, so you know you have enough mustard in there. And at this point, you're just going to take your water and add a small amount. So this is probably, goodness, teeny tiny amount of water. Let me see. And you don't want to add too much because you don't want it to become too watery. So let me try and do this and mix it as I go. And typically you want this to be like a warm water. That should be good. And the reason why you want it to be warm is obviously it's just going to help penetrate quicker. So this looks perfect. And like I said, this would be a good amount for a 1-year-old and up to about age 3. So you're going to smear this depending on the size of the child. Obviously, if your child is tiny, don't do that much. If your child's bigger, then you can use more. Again, depending on the child, the thickness of the chest, and so on and so forth. So what you're going to do at this point is you're going to find, I like to do a double layer just because the shirt is fairly thin. I like to do a double layer, and you're just going to find the area of the chest that you want to put it on. Okay, so if you want it to be kind of centered in the chest, then just think about a square or a circle. And at this point, just kind of give you a consistency here. So you want it to be about that consistency, and from this point, you're just going to kind of slap it on the cloth. Let me see if I can. And get as much as you can. Obviously, for the sake of the video and time, I'm just going to kind of speed up the process. So again, depending on the size of the person, you might want to go bigger. You can certainly make it thicker. You can thin it out if you want to. Just kind of go with your instinct on this. So I'm just going to pretend like that is about the size area that I want to stimulate blood flow to. From this point, you can either, you can single it over with 1 layer, or you can even double it over. It depends on how thick it is, it depends on how runny you made it, etc. So you're just going to put 1 layer here, and that's a protective barrier. Now what you're going to do is you can take some olive oil. You can either put some olive oil down right here, or you can put it on the area that you're trying to treat. So if you want to do it, let's say my hand, you can pour it on there, massage the oil onto the person, give them a nice little massage, stimulate lymphatic movement, and then take your poultice and your plaster or whatever you want to call it, and place it on the area. The oil is just going to act as another protectant barrier. That's it. It's also going to help to pull some of this in while also protecting the skin. So basically, you're going to leave it. So if this is an adult, you just tell them to be still. And you want to check it every 5 minutes or so on an adult. They should be able to last 15 to 20 minutes. They'll tell you, okay, it's starting to heat up. A child that's 5 or 6, you might want to do 10 minutes and then gauge it down from there. But once this goes on the skin and it starts to penetrate through, the oil will help to pull that out. So if you do it like this, and it starts to penetrate through, you'll check back at the skin. So you'll just kind of lift it up and look, and it will start to get red. And as it starts to get red, that's when you need to say, okay, time's up. Let's pull this off. Let's rinse this off with some warm water and see how that works. And what happens is the child will start to cough and bring it, because it's bringing all that blood to the surface. And so that's going to speed the healing process. And you can do this as often as needed. And guys, from that point forward, the body is now really alerted that there is a problem area that needs to be addressed. Sometimes the body just doesn't know what's going on. It might know that there's somewhat of a problem, but otherwise now it's very alerted. Bring antibodies to this area if we have antibodies built already for whatever infection it is, or bring the part of the immune system that will actually help to build that. And so basically that's what's going on, guys. And so these are very simple things that you can do at home. Mustard, flour, water, and any type of oil that you choose to use. And this should help you speed up your healing process. And again, you can use this every few hours if you need to, as long as you do not stimulate any burns. If you happen to leave it on too long, like if you're going to fall asleep, terrible time to do it. But if you leave it on and you cause burns, go see my burn video, because that's not something you want to do. Again, only about 15 minutes or so for an adult, so for a child, you're going to want to do it less. If you need to tape this to someone's chest, you can use tape, you can use some type of wrap, so an ACE wrap or whatever you have on hand. Just to make the child lay down would obviously be best, but children obviously don't want to lay down all the time. So guys, I hope the video is a blessing to you. Until next time.